Good morning, Rabbi Isai. Kesubos Daf Chavdalid, the 8-minute daf. Today, we're going to learn some new musagim, concepts in Gemara, and many other things. We're going to learn about goimlim, dror d'mamayna, and other things. But before we do that, the Gemara goes through the different mishnayos that we learned, the quick chazara, on what we learned until now. We're learning about the concept of hapesha asar, hapesha yitir. If somebody is believed to make an isser on themselves or on others, and within a few seconds they explain it, then they can make a heter. We learned this concept even when there's no drara d'mamayna. What does drara d'mamayna mean? When there's a monetary loss. In other words, we had the Mishnah when two Eidim testified, this is our signature. However, we had a gun put to our heads. We're anusim. Over there's no monetary loss to them. But on the flip side, sometimes you could say hapesha asar when it has to do with you personally. Like, for instance, the Mishnah, where I purchased the field from your father. Now, if I don't say from your father, I just say your father owned the field beforehand, then there's a monetary loss, but it's also personal, because now I want that field for myself. We have the other Mishnah of Eishes Ish. I used to be Eishes Ish, but today I'm divorced. Over here we have an Isser. It's not a monetary loss. So the Mishnah has to tell us that you say hapesha asar even in this case. What about the Mishnah about a captive woman? She says, I was captured, I was kidnapped, but I'm tahar. Well, according to one of the Manda Amrim that we had earlier, the Chiddush would be on the other case, when there's two captive women, and one says the other one is tahar, and that other one in return says that the first one is tahar. Now we're not concerned for goimlin. Here's the new concept, goimlin, which is collusion. It makes a lot of sense that I'm going to say that you're tar, and in return you're going to say that I'm tar. Maybe we have collusion going on here. We're not chayshish hapesha asar, hapeh shehitir. Now what about our Mishnah? We have two men. Each one testifies about himself and the other. I'm a kayin, and so is my friend. And the other one says, he's a kayin, and so is my friend. They're not believed for yuchsin and for truma. In other words, if there's an important woman that has good yichus, let's say she's the daughter of a kayin, she can't marry them because they're not trusted. Same thing would apply for truma. They can't eat truma based on that testimony. But according to Chachamim, they are believed. According to Rabbi Yehuda, in order so that there shouldn't be a problem of collusion, you need three people. And two testify on one. And then they go just in a circle. Each two testify on another one. There's no problem of gaimlin. We find by a camel driver who comes in with his grain. According to Rabbi Yehuda, he's believed to say, my grain, there's no trumas of maisris, my grain is inferior, it's not dried out yet, but my friend's is dried grain and is trumas of maisris. What about collusion? The reason why we believe him in this case is because when it comes to Dmai, we were makel. We went easy on them. Chachamim say we have to be machmer, we have to be concerned of collusion here. Because since they're there with their tools, in other words, the tools that they sell the grain, it's obvious that they came to sell the grain. So then why are they saying that their grain is inferior? Because of collusion. It's trickery. The same thing we say by a pottery seller who happens to be a chaver. Chaver is somebody who is very careful with tumah. Everything he eats, even when he eats chulin, not kachim, he makes sure that everything is tar. So his pottery starts out being tar. He put his pottery on the street, but he got thirsty, so he went to fetch some water. But we're not sure what happened while he was away. Maybe some person that had tumah came and touched his pottery and made him tumah. So over here we say this idea that if he has his tools with him, in other words, you could tell that he's trying to sell his pottery. So people that walk by, they're under the assumption that he's selling the pottery and that it's okay to touch his pottery. And therefore, since we don't know who touched it, everything becomes tumah. But if he doesn't have his tools with him, no one's going to touch his pottery. And therefore, everything is tar. We have a case where some of it is tar, some of it isn't. When his pottery is next to the Rosh Hashanah by the buffer. So the outer pottery, the ones that are closest to the Rosh Hashanah, they become tameh because perhaps the clothing of the Amar is matama in the ear was matama the pottery. Another pshat the Gemara tells us is that according to Rabbi Yehuda, we're not concerned about goimlim at all. Over here, we're concerned if we allow somebody to eat truma based on a single aid, well, that's a problem. Because now people are going to see me eating truma, they'll associate that with yuchsin and marry him. So that's a machlokes, whether we could rely on one aid or not. The same thing, we have a machlokes. If you see somebody's name in a shtar, and it says, let's say, Ruvain HaKayin borrowed money from Shimon. And the fact that it say HaKayin, do we see from here that he's a Kayin? The machlokes says, those who signed in the document, are they just signing about the loan and the amount of the loan, or they go into the details of the loan? Perhaps they looked into it and they saw that he's a Kayin, and based on that shtar, they can marry into him, or they can marry him. What about duchening, birkus kehanim, nesias kapayim? Could you marry somebody based on the fact that he does duchening in shul? On the one hand, nesias kapayim duchening is only an asay. If somebody is over on it, he's only over on an asay, not on a misa. On the flip side, you have to have a lot of audacity to get up there and duchen when you're not a kain. You're doing it before hesi, whereas truma, you eat privately. People might notice, they might recognize him that he's not a kain. The Gemara tells us we cannot bring a raya from the Brisa. It says gdoila chazaka. Chazaka is very powerful. That it says in the pasuk that Nehemiah, when people came back with Ezra from Galus, from Bavel, and they didn't have proof that they are kayanim, he said, you cannot eat kachim. You can't eat from the karbanas, but you could eat truma. Now, perhaps the reason why they could eat the truma is because they ate truma in Bavel, in Galus, so they continue eating. So you see that the chazak is very strong. The Gemara tells us no. The reason why the chazaka is actually weak. Why is the chazaka weak? Because all the other kayanim, everybody knows that they're not eating kachim. So we're not concerned that they are going to go ahead and marry and use that for yichos just because they're eating truma, because people know that they're not eating kachim. And we have a machlokes by truma, whether it's the rice or not. Have a wonderful day.